The Naval War College is a fully accredited graduate level institution. We have 3 core courses that students will attend throughout their 10-month experience here. Once they graduate, they are given their joint military, professional military education accreditation in addition to a full graduate degree.
We take military officers that have been recruited from all walks of life. They've been highly trained and they're technically skilled when they get here. And our job is to educate them to begin thinking operationally, strategically, politically, so that they can engage at higher levels of leadership.
We are nested under what is considered joint professional military education. The joint is critical in that. We're responsible for educating and sharing what we do in the Navy to our brothers and sisters in arms across the entire service.
And not only do we have usually one of each of the services represented, Army, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard. We also have civilians that come out of the security sector from places like the FBI,
the State Department.
We have international students.
You may have a student from Bangladesh who's in the class with you talking about their perspective. You may have a French submariner who has a unique experience from his service. You may find yourself side by side with an individual from the Central Intelligence Agency. The experience for the students is truly remarkable, and it's different than you'll find in any other institution throughout the country and throughout the world.
Our professors are both civilian as well as military.
When I teach a seminar, I have a military faculty member sitting next to me as a co-equal. I've got to make it real, immediate, and valuable to the student body. And the way we do that is this team teaching.
It's a very exciting and dynamic way to be able to teach.
One of our students that ends up being chairman of the Joint Chiefs has to be able to advise civilian policymakers on what the military options are, but they also have to put them into a policy context, a historical context, a context of how that plays out within the region in which we may or may not be intervening.
We literally have hundreds of electives here, from Islam and religion,
the ethics of decision-making.
It could be international relations, it could be World War II, it could be robotics and unmanned systems.
Philosophy, the foundations of moral courage, leadership.
Civil War, the American Revolution.
Cultural awareness electives. We have self-awareness electives.
China, Asia-Pacific studies. It is really an amazing way to kind of round out the education that you get here.
We are trying to teach people to think. And it doesn't matter what profession you're in. There's an element of every professional at the highest levels of that profession, whether it's art, music, science. You have to have an element of critical and creative thinking.
We focus on 2 aspects of thinking. The first part is critical analysis. And so we do that in our national security affairs, which is looking at current issues. We do it in our joint military operations, which is looking at operational planning. And we do it in our strategy and policy course, which is really set up to inculcate this critical analysis and look at historical cases in order to be able to increase the students' ability to think critically. In the second part, we teach strategic thinking.
For our students, the way that they might lead in their commands or in combat is very different than what would be required of them as senior commanders. So what we do here at the college is help shift that mindset from thinking in a very tactical way to thinking in a very strategic way. Teaching critical thinking or teaching strategic mindsets isn't a matter of putting together a briefing and saying, here are the 6 steps. I am a firm believer in active learning where you involve students in their own learning. So they develop the ability to strategically think by engaging in the discourse.
One of our mantras here is that there is no schoolhouse solution. We're not driving them to the right answer. What we want them to do is to learn to ask the right questions. We want them to learn to see the different perspectives that may surround an issue. The national security professional that understands how and why he or she is doing what they're doing in the field is going to be better at executing it, rather than if they're asked to do things for which they don't have an understanding of where it comes from or why it's important or why they're being asked to do it.
At the U.S. Naval War College, we have visiting speakers, people who have very unique experiences that they can share with our student body to help kind of broaden their perspective when they're looking at problems. General Bolton, the former NASA administrator, was speaking at our Future Warfighting Symposium. Mark Zuckerberg was here. Nobel Peace Prize winners, Leila Bowie.
Neil Ferguson, a rock star in the historical profession from Harvard. Paul Kennedy from Yale. I gave a talk this summer following Christopher Hill, who was the U.S. representative to the 6-party talks on the North Korean nuclear issue. This guy knows absolutely everything that is possible for an American to know about North Korea. And he is happy to come here and talk.
So bringing those people into the classroom, bringing all the services along with the international students into the classroom makes for a really rich experience that you can't get anywhere else.
Outside the classroom, there's a lot of social activities. Maybe your kids are on the same soccer team. We have formal events like military balls. Again, an opportunity to get to know your classmates in a different environment. And when you walk away, you have an idea of where they're coming from. And when you see them or similar people later in your career, you're going to have a better understanding of where they come from, what their culture is all about, and how you can work together to meet the common goals.
At the end of the day, we know that we're teaching not just simply for the sake of teaching, but for the sake of providing our officers and civilian students here with tools that they will need to succeed in their actual jobs in the national security establishment. We want them to think great thoughts. We want them to widen the aperture. We want them to gain this language of national security. But in the end, it goes back to the fundamental client of who we are serving, which are the people of the United States, in ensuring that their national security professionals in the military and in the civilian agencies are absolutely the best educated and best prepared that they can be.